Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Below 24 had an interesting article where they were comparing the problem of the country's collapsed health care services. And meanwhile, Zanu-PF is spending millions of dollars on cars for the ruling elite. In the article, the writer talks of across the country, public health hospitals are missing even the most basic supplies, bandages, gloves, functioning beds, medicines, and diagnostic tools. And yet, just yesterday, President Emmerson Mnangagwa handed out a fleet of brand new vehicles to top Zanu-PF Women's League executives, Land Cruisers, Toyota Hilux, and so on and so forth. The total value of US 2.75 million. This is a theme that many Zimbabweans have referred to again and again. The theme of misplaced priorities. The money Mnangagwa is spending on buying all these posh vehicles for the ruling elite is either taxpayers' money or money creamed off from all the wholesale looting of the nation's resources that has been going on up and down the country. What matters is these are resources that are supposed to be benefiting not only the few, but the whole nation. How can we keep on justifying buying Porsche cars for the ruling elite, whilst millions live in abject poverty? Hospitals do not have ambulances. And yet, the chairman of that district will have a new twin cab vehicle worth 150,000 US dollars. That doesn't make any sense at all. But that is the reality in Zimbabwe. What is one is got to ask then is, how did this come about? Why is it that we've got it so hopelessly wrong? I believe the theme of misplaced priorities is at the very heart of why Zimbabwe is a failed state, and we are who we are. We cannot deny that the overwhelming majority of our people out there have accepted as reality that leaders are special. They've accepted, they've placed leaders on pedestals where they become demigods. Once you have made that mistake, it is easy to see why when the demigods are spending money on posh vehicles, when they, the poor, the ordinary people, the masses, have nothing, you accept it too. The failure to hold leaders to democratic account because people believe these leaders are demigods is at the heart of why Zimbabwe is a failed state. Zanu-PF had only to keep the illusion that the people have got a meaningful say, and the people believed it. That is where the mistake came in. Before independence, one man, one vote was at the heart of the fight for independence. It was important. But just before the elections, the 1980 elections, the Zanu-PF changed the goalpost. The party told the people that if Zanu-PF does not win the elections, the Bush war would continue. And the people fell for it. They genuinely thought that by voting for Zanu-PF, they will avoid the problems of the Bush war. It didn't happen, of course. Zanu-PF won the 1980 elections. And within 3 years, the regime was once back again on the war footing. This time, the Kukura-Wundi. The primary purpose of Kukura-Wundi was to force the only other political party that constituted a serious political challenge to Zanu-PF's continued hold on power, i.e. PF ZAPU, to give up its claims as an independent political party. That party was finally forced to sign the 1987 Unity Accord, which ended the Kukura-Wundi. After over 20,000 people had been murdered. And once PF ZAPU signed the Unity Accord, that paved the way for Mugabe to impose the de facto one-party state. That has ruled the country to this day. The people had the illusion that they were still participating, they had the meaningful say in the governance of the country. Because every 5 years, the nation went to elections. The elections, Zanu-PF blatantly rigged. It was not until the late 1990s that the people of Zimbabwe finally woke up to the reality that Zanu-PF was shortchanging them. The nation came to a consensus that they needed to elect opposition leaders whose number one task would be to implement democratic changes to stop Zanu-PF rigging the elections. That was the number one purpose. And the MDC, Morgan Tsvangirai, when he launched his party, he also made the same promise. He called the party the Movement for Democratic Change. Why would he have called it that if he genuinely believed, if he didn't genuinely believe in democratic change as the number one priority? He believed in it. And he sold the party on the basis that it will deliver the democratic changes the nation was dying for. And ever since 1999, the people have been voting for MDC-CCC, believing that the party will deliver those democratic changes to stop Zanu-PF rigging the elections. They had their best opportunity to implement those reforms in 1980. Sorry, in 2008 to 2018. They failed to implement even one token reform because Mugabe bribed them. The people themselves fell for it. Since the GNU, MDC have been participating in flawed elections, knowing fully well that the Zanu-PF was rigging, knowing fully well that participating will only give Zanu-PF legitimacy, because they wanted a share of the trappings of power. And since the GNU, they have conned the people to participate. The people themselves are at the heart of our problem. They have accepted the leaders as demigods. And the rest is easy to follow. It is not rocket science. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand what free, fair, and credible elections are. And yet it has been easy for Zanu-PF to sell that idea that you are having a meaningful say, the elections are free, fair, and credible. And now it's 45 years being sold a dummy. The last 25 years of those 45 years, Zanu-PF has managed to sell the people the dummy with the help of MDC-CCC. First of all, they failed to implement reforms when they had the opportunity to do so. And since the GNU, they've been calling the people to participate in flawed elections, telling them that they've devised ways of winning those flawed elections, which is, of course, a lie. Why the people keep believing in those idiotic lies is their problem. The last 2 years has been an uphill fight with some people. They cannot accept the reality that Chamisa conned them to participate in 2023 elections, just as he did in 2018 elections. Conned them to participate in flawed elections on the basis of an idiotic lie. It is idiotic. Because anyone who understood what free and fair elections are and the basic requirements for free and fair elections are, would not believe the lies that Chamisa told them, that he had plugged the vote rigging loopholes. How would you plug vote rigging loopholes, such as the failure to produce a verified voters roll? You need a verified voters roll. Chamisa had done nothing to stop, to make sure that the voters' roll, there was a clean voters' roll. And yet the people believed him. And not only a few people, 2 million people believed him. They participated. And soon after the election, Chamisa himself was the one who was saying the elections were rigged. The very thing that he had said would not happen. And guess what? The 2 million, most of the 2 million believe, yes, Zanu-PF rigged the elections. But when you say to them, do you accept then that Chamisa lied to you? That's a bridge too far for them to cross. They hold Chamisa as a demigod. And they cannot bring themselves round to accepting that a demigod would lie to them. And this is the weakness that the ruling elite in Zimbabwe have used to exploit the people. When you accept a mere mortal as a demigod, it is easy to see why you would accept that the nation should be spending millions of dollars buying cars for chefs and on other luxuries, when the same government is failing to ensure that there are even the most basic medicines in our hospitals. When there's no clean running water, why would you accept that? If you accepted that the leader is a demigod, that comes easy. This is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. And we cannot run away from it. I'll just give one povo individual the last say on this issue.
Tirimo mu State House titodya chicken in
Kule.
kudya kwakaprofitwa kare nababa Johani ndokudya kwakanzi sapatina kudya kwakanaka kudya kundirozi tiripo paState House unogona kutofa usina kumbosvika paState House asisiripo takatotsika mota dzedu dzaurikuona iState House ndopatiri pamba penyika kunamata kwakanaka chipostori chakanaka sapatina tichidya zvedu kudya kwakanaka tiri kutodya pamasowe panapa but tiri kudya nyama imi kwenyu hazviko asi tiri pano pamasowe paState House nhasi ndo patiri kunamatira nhasi tiri kudya nyama namata mwari uyu akanaka baba Johani wakauya nechinamato ichi kuvanhu vatema wakagona nokuti zvaitwa nevarungu chete asi nhasi uno tisu tiri kuzviita vakana vabvudze popi hatina matei wakomana.
The real tragedy is that many Zimbabweans out there have failed to understand even basic things like what constitutes free, fair, and credible elections. They failed to understand that leaders are mere mortals that must be held to account, that must be accountable to the people. And when you have failed to do that, it is easy to see why the leaders now placed themselves and accepted themselves as demigods, first-class citizens, while the rest of the people are second-class citizens. In terms of priorities, yes, a luxury car for the chefs is more important than medicine for povo. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.